Look at the film, that last 59 minutes. Talk about your defense and just your thoughts on it.
I was really pleased with the exception of just a couple of runs in there. Just pretty much what we thought after the game was misfits. I really liked how competitive. It was a great game. A lot of really good plays within the game. We got better. That game challenged you in a lot of different ways, physically and mentally, and maturity and leadership. Anytime you can test your mettle that way, I just believe that it makes you better, stronger, wiser. Had a ton of plays to teach and correct off of that. I really believe will help us here down the the rest of the season.
Does that tell you something about your defense when you give up that huge run right in the beginning and all of a sudden no phasing them at all? They come right back out and play an awesome game.
Well, hopefully it gives validation to what we're asking them to do, and the work that we put in prior to game day, and just again, guys, trusting in each other and the schemes, and regardless of whatever scheme you're in, the players, they're the ones out there executing it, getting off of blocks and fitting in gaps and making adjustments on the field. And so I'm real pleased with how they responded, without question.
Coach PJ Goodson has had a couple of monster games in a row.
I will say this, though, because now that you say that, too, just a lot of times people try to act like, well, the last time you played has something to do with this time you played, and we always say as coaches, every week, every season is its own entity. And because it was brought up after the game, about how the 13 games started, and it's like, it doesn't have to go bad. Every year the circumstances are different, and I think that's a classic example that it didn't go the same way, and it doesn't have to go the same way. And one year doesn't have to have anything to do with the other. And so, again, proud of the guys, how they responded.
I was just going to ask about BJ. Not that he hasn't played well in the past, but it seems like he's playing on another level right now. Is there anything specific that you've seen that he's figured out? Well,
I just think it's, if you've watched him closely and watched us, this season, and I know I talk about him, close to every week, and then I've brought him up to, many media people just in regards to, there's been a couple of guys that going into the year you really didn't know how they would grow, evolve, respond, and if they didn't, just meet your expectation, that we were going to have problems. And BJ has really done a terrific job this year, executing, leading, making all the plays he's supposed to, and then he's. It seems as though each and every week he's made some plays that I would just term above and beyond or special, and couldn't be more pleased with his maturation within the system, and again, it's a lesson to all of us, starting with me in particular, that sometimes it just takes longer for guys, or maybe it's an opportunity. He did play behind two terrific players in Tony Stewart and Stephon Anthony and Spencer Shuey, and just go down the list. There's been a couple of other guys, but and he had Ben Boulware. Ben was playing at this kind of a level, but he's had a great attitude, and he really comes to work every day, and just a great leader. And the young guys really look up to him, and he's really. He's more than met my expectations, so it's been a big part of our success.
BJ and Ben, I flash back to the beginning of their camp and your concerns at linebacker with depth, and you've been able to develop some on the front and on the back end, but those two guys, they're just going to have to be war horses this entire season, it appears. Speak to how much you rely on that, because I would think that,
well, it's just like
scary.
It's really it's like your quarterback. That's what those guys are. And as you saw, when the guy's not in this gap or that gap, a lot of bad things can happen, and sometimes even when they are, bad things happen. But those guys are the glue from a mental standpoint. You know, they really allow us to have flexibility in the things that we do scheme-wise. They're not limited in what they can do or can't do. They can do what we need them to do and then some. They really understand the game. They work hard at understanding the game plan and take a lot of pride in how they go to work every day and bring guys along with them. So they've been really, really consistent, and I've answered the bell many times this year, and you know, I can't ask enough of them. They just keep, you know, they keep responding, and so it's been a real, you know, critical, you know, a lot of pieces to it, and they're two critical pieces to giving us a chance to have success.
Can you, or would you characterize their individual styles? Are they similar?
You know, BJ loves to play. He's a little bit more emotional on game day, but he's still much more calm than Ben. You know, Ben's Ben's a very one of his strongest attributes is he's an emotional, very intense competitor, and but they're both very intelligent, very prideful, very tough. Love the weight room. They love the work and the grind. They've got some similarities, and they got, you know, tremendous respect and admiration for one another. So got very good chemistry there.
Adrian said yesterday that on his interception, he recognized the formation and was able to kind of sit there and wait on that route.
Mm-hmm.
Is that recognition something that you've seen a lot of improvement from him recently?
Well, sure. You know, Adrian's, you know, he's matured here. You know, really, he probably had the best fall camp of all of our corners, and then just as we're getting into the season, it kind of tapered off a little bit, and but he's still a young guy that's, you know, still coming into his own, and he's been working harder. He'll be the first to admit that he's really probably worked harder, you know, more now than he has in his career, in his preparation, his understanding, you know, different man techniques, different zone techniques, and he did a terrific job. Put on a clinic tape there with, you know, a 3D, you know, zone overlap concept technique rather, and allowed him to have vision on two routes and split them and play the football. You know, it was, and then he went up and high pointed the ball and sitting all over it. So a really nice play there that I think just shows how, you know, his maturation as well in the system and understanding, not panicking and those types of things.
I know last week you said that the team against NC State, that you didn't feel like you guys, they respected the game. So the next 3 weeks.
And I wouldn't say it's not all of them. Sometimes as a coach, you generalize, but it certainly wasn't all of them. But it doesn't take all of them either. It just takes a guy or two.
So going into these next 3 games, knowing that you don't have a Florida State or Notre Dame on the schedule at this point, how do you keep them level-headed and knowing that they need to respect the game?
Well, to me, it's pretty simple. You know, if this is what you say you want, then this is what you have to do. And if you don't do that, you're not going to get what you want. So, I think they can see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak, and I think that they see what's truly sitting in front of them if they do X, Y, Z. If they don't do X, Y, Z, that's why you see teams losing. Every year it's that way, and that's why it's so hard to keep that focus, that hunger, that edge, that lack of satisfaction. Not allowing distractions. That's the challenge, and so that was, the challenge to put in front of them. If you really want it, it's doable, okay? And it's going to be really hard, but here's what you got to do. If you don't do it, you're going to be on the outside looking in, and you're going to have a life of regret, because so many things have to go your way, and to get to this point, it's like, as I look at Syracuse, they're a team that they absolutely have to win this week, to have a chance to go to a bowl game. And they got every trick known to man in their kicking game, onside kicks, fake punts, fake field goals, and they've all worked. And they've worked against us. And so they better be on high alert, and we need to play really, really well going up to their place. So I got all kinds of reasons why we can be beat these next 4 games easy. There's plenty of reasons if we're not at the top of our game, and you need to be. And the great teams and the really good teams that have a chance to compete for a championship, you get better. You don't regress. You don't peak out. And we'll see where we go from here. I don't know. There's a ton of things that I loved last week, and there's always some things that you don't like. But I think that we've made some incremental improvement week to week. And again, along the way, I think it's naive and negligent to believe you're not going to have some setbacks. That's part of it. It's unfortunate. NC State was not very pleased structurally, with, again, 4 or 5 plays. But, that's what the challenge now is. We need to get better. And that's what yesterday was all about in our meetings. You say you want to be, the best at this. Well, look at these plays. That's not what the best does. And they didn't make a play on it, but that's not what the best does. People are going to find your weaknesses. And so there's plenty of those that weren't apparent to the naked eye, that we're really focused on just getting better fundamentally, technique, reads, keys, eyes, precision in the execution, the understanding of what everybody around you was doing on any particular call. And that's yesterday really for the most part was spent really correcting things in that game. And so felt like they were very focused, paying attention, took the coaching, took the corrections, and hopefully that'll pay off.
Did you, when you were at Oklahoma and y'all had that run and you won the national championship, do you draw back on that experience and some things maybe you did wrong during that time of coaching and try not to do it this time?
Well, just use all your years. I'll say this: I've never had a losing season. So all those different seasons, there's a story within the story on your proverbial journey, and so I try to use a lot of experience. Listen, these are the things that it takes, and certainly the years that you came up short, you'll always use those, the experience there to, okay, do this, don't do that. How you handle your guys. Our season's a long season, and so you try to manage all those things, and whether it's in the game or whatnot. But the best teams I've been around continue to get better, and that's kind of the message. You can't just go through the motions. If it's just 10 minutes of fundamental period, man, it's got to be a big time 10 minutes where we're stressing and really working on technique and those little things that should be your foundation, and you can't get away from those things. That's probably the biggest things. Drawing back on experience.
Are there certain teams you play where you have a heightened awareness of trick plays possibly happening? Is there anything you can do as a coordinator to kind of, do you practice it all to calm?
Oh yeah. I just put together Tim put together the practice script. Every day is game day to me, and so I try to put together a game at practice, and so all the different situations, try to stress our guys as much as possible, and put them in very tough situations, see how they respond, and it's very, for me, every day, and I'm not a fatalistic guy, but it's just like, there's no way we're going to cover this wheel route at practice, and sure enough, we don't, and then, I go nuts, and then you got to do it again, or, and then it's like, we're going to get crushed this week, we can't do anything right, and then we go out and shut somebody out. There's different philosophies, and you try to figure out by watching a lot of tape what a coordinator, what a head coach's philosophy is, and you try to give that to your guys as information. This is how they think. This is what they're going to expect, what we're going to expect. This is how they're going to look at us. Maybe this is a very athletic, aggressive defense. They're vulnerable to double moves, whatever. This is how they're going to attack us, and try to get them in the mindset of the people that, ultimately it's the enemy. So, so to create that, level of urgency or the heightened awareness, absolutely. I think that's our job as coaches. One, to understand our opponent, and then two, to get our players to understand them equally as well.
Kind of related to that, you mentioned that your plays, Syracuse runs on special teams. Do you spend the same amount of preparation and time on special teams depending on the opponent, or is it the same, or is it different depending on?
Well, I mean, it's never 50-50, or 33% special teams in practice, 33% offense, 33% defense. You don't break it up that way, but we spend a good amount of time, covering those things and talking to them every day and trying to work it and put it in front of them every day. Yes.
Understanding that doesn't help you win games, but like this week you're going to be on the cover with the picture of Deshaun Watson. Is there any value in that from a coach's point of view right now? The nation is kind of now picking up on what you guys.
The only thing I could say, the only thing I would say, and I'm not getting any value out of it other than if somebody tells me, hey, we're on the Sports Illustrated, you try to use it maybe in recruiting. That's it. Try to hide it from your own guys and use it in recruiting, or be extra hard on the guys that are involved. Maybe had to do the Jedi mind trick. I don't care what everybody else says about you. You stink, so, and maybe they really do, and they fooled everybody else, so, no. I'd rather not people praise you, and that was part of our meeting, again, on Monday. Everybody wants to tell you how great you are. You ain't done jack. You're gonna play in Charlotte. That's all we know right now, and you're satisfied with that, then I'm coaching the wrong guys. This isn't what we set out to do. And so again, I think the psyche is so incredibly important. We all have, probably the majority of us have children. You know how it is easy for their minds to wander, and you give them too much rope, they're going to hang themselves. It's just it's human nature. And I think the best players and the best teams just have their guard up, man. They're on edge. Doesn't mean you can't be loose and confident and all those things, but you're fighting and you're desperate for your success, and I think that's critical. Because it's really, really hard, and it's really, really hard. But just being desperate for success. Okay, now what's it take? And what do I got to do? And so that's kind of what. We're pleading with our guys, just lock in, focus on today, and try to be great today. Whatever it is that we're doing, let's be very engaged in it, and let's see where we're at. I think all the success, the winning, the improved draft status, all the fame, that's all a byproduct of the end result that we're trying to get. And you're not going to have any of that if you don't do, again, these things in between. So.
Aside from what you might have said earlier about Syracuse, what concerns you most about?
They've got a good scheme. They've had a number of the teams they've lost to. They've had them on the ropes all the way into the fourth quarter. They've got two very talented receivers outside and a jack of all trades, number 3. They move him all over the place, and he does a bunch of things. They've got good size and speed though on the outside to attack you in the throwing game. Quarterbacks do a very good job of both running as running threats in the quarterback run game, option game, and really force you to make good adjustments on any particular play. They have a lot to their offense, so getting our guys zeroed in on their keys and adjustments is going to be critical, and being able to play good coverage as well. But going on the road and playing a team that's desperate, that's always concerning.
Is it, when you say a lot to their offense, is it to the level of NC State?
Yeah, very, 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 very similar. Very similar. Same level.
Getting back to the linebackers, did you make a conscious decision in August? These were going to be your 2 guys, and you'll continue to
No.
guys?
I mean, I had no idea Kendall Joseph would be hurt. That really set him back.
Yeah.
Again, after the spring, he had played the best through whatever it was, through those practices. And And to really be honest, it wasn't even close. His production was crazy good, and then and that really set him back. And so no, I'm hopeful that some guys would. Again, they're like young guys, you know. Sometimes it's really good, and some other times it's just the opposite. So it's like a receiver, you know. He makes an out cut, he's supposed to make an in cut, and it's a pick. You know, young guys do that. Same thing with linebackers. They put their eyes where they don't belong, and you know, they don't fit where they're supposed to, or they try to do too much, or they run up the field when it's a pass. I mean, that's just what young guys do. And you know, as coaches, you can play really well if you just are consistent, not great, but just consistent, be where you're supposed to be. You can still play really, really well. So, yeah, I didn't have any plan or intention to do it, you know, how it's been.
But based on what you said about their characteristics as players, and they're built for this kind of grind, both of those guys, being on the field a lot of snaps and doing it for 30
Hey, everybody does it, you know. Most teams do it like we're doing it right now. So I know we make a big deal just from what a year ago we played more guys, but most people don't have the, you know.
4 or 5 roll.
Yeah, I think this is more the norm than an aberration.
Do either of them remind you of anybody you've had before? Favorably?
Yeah, some ways. Yeah, there's plenty of. Yeah, you know, you coach a bunch of guys through the years. They've definitively have some of the same, you know, characteristics: passion, instincts, physical toughness, mental toughness. That's what you try to recruit to that, and that. We're no different than anybody else. That's what you would probably want in your locker room anywhere.
You draw the picture, that's what it's going to look like.
Yeah. So, and hopefully you inspire guys to love it, to be highly engaged, and take great pride in being a great leader, take great pride in your performance, take great pride in how you work. And, you know, that's part of our job, too, as coaches, to try to help foster and nourish those concepts and get your guys to buy in every day, you know. And I would rather inspire them instead of have to threaten them. You know, you want them to love what they do and to be passionate about what they do and love their experience. So, you know, I think our guys do.
Thanks.
All right.